ebehuni ye na de na o complete ma 6 ne ye na we ni ho ntina na say 6 ne yansi ye no eniam ya ademo a adekia ebehuni ye ma nyina yempagya ye mu na ye mompaye odom hene nyame defo yade wase anwumre yi wadom ntina waka ye ho ama ya behia mu yade wase wadom do sombrade nyina so anwumre yi won a enya nu ha fom bra somdwem ye yensu yadu ha yesro wadom nti be kan ye ho se ne besuan beboa yen yade wako a obekasa hye wonsa yesro se obeye no kasamafo eni mu asem asowani hu ye nyina mobo ne boa yen wo ya brabo mu Kristo nti amen sania ye nyina ye nimo no afeina yen yedi yen heritage day no enti na otwe efi ene kine nyina no ene ye de asiwo se ye de ye cherishing our heritage enti anwumre ye wo Dr. Samuel Champon ni obeka ho asem na no ye theme ne ye promoting cultural inclusion, participation, and diversity. Inti anwumre die no obekasa afa promoting cultural inclusion and diversity. Ene say ye nyina ye nim say ye wa amamre. Se na yenso betimi de ye ho aframu na ya ye ama ye ma no nso ahunu. Na si ansam ho ni ya na manisuo na ekwa asomu. Enti se besi abo ye mbra no ofie no if we include ourselves ye de hu wuramu a ebeboa ama wo mo kina de no say participation say wonso wo ye bie na nia wo ye no ebeboa ama mo so ahunu cultural diversity enema hu bebre ena yenya ye nyine krom ha ye ma ya wom krom ha no eye na sunsun bebre wom ni omo ka ye ntiase de ye ka mo ntiase sign betimi abo ebrana mati ye nyina etimi ate ye ho ase e kina wia ye be say discussion no na ebebo am ye nyina yetimi kakra ye bete ye ho ase enti mra me nkyere ho me firi ha no ye onua same beba ni mu ha na woni en aba be kasa ni o ma ye anwumre bebre su e wo zoom no so ye nyina ye nya so ayenti amen. Yo, yada enyum no ase any youth no display a umbe display o ha no na eso ani pa kai me nka ne tetibre no na me youth no enti no nyame enhye omo bebre me kan say na me youth no bi mo hwe om say na wo nye youth
Nyame adom ye youth nanso no me komanim adwene ne dɔɔso ma memfa me zoom no mento so sɛ da bɛyɛ a ɔmo wo zoom no so no so betumi ehu de ɛkɔ so enti no ma share me screen sɛ mo betumi de ato so ama ɔmo zoom no so no a enka bɛboa bebree me pacho zoom for no muhu hu. I'm hoping so because my share my screen no yo enti na ye Ghana ye Independence Day twa mu 2 days ago no eno ho celebration to hear me a my dress come up me make sure say kente no esu enti no me say mo ani age ho bebre pia bonten ho na say hey wani abre na say ya ma me ni kuram amen enti no ene ne ye ba be celebrate ni abe promote your culture na okwan bebre so na baby anu be fa no ebe no more of introduction because ene bebre ni ebesua o chena divine service me no Dr. Ewu akasa ono so ba be sane agum nyame ya adoma and afternoon program amambre ni nema bebre nti no me dey be more of opening it up and mentioning certain things be a me hu no say e very important ye betimi dey rura sa ye celebration yi mu na yes, celebrate your culture no. It's a Bible verse. I hear Christopher. The Bible verse kitwe be dikan. I say, okay, 1 Thessalonians 5:21. I say, test all things, hold fast what is good. I say, Sonia menina hwena de eye pan de krem. The time I call fast that verse by and say nyina tutu kwan. Abetena brochi. If there is anybody who needs to test all things that time and all Ghana no I know we have so many experiences by a bar hey no we have learned more, we've seen more people, we've seen more cultures, we've seen how other people do things. You who said they be more erase or mamba, you who be more how or more fast organize or more be more to me organize more crowd investments it be a nema bebre ye buy a besu nuane ahoro pizza. Then dear brain a question no say Ghana. I feel a drew but pizza, why can become Lamborghini, spaghetti, no name, we have tested everything. I want us to draw our minds back to now, this is not competition. I'm not trying to compete. So India for no. But saying about testing the na yahwe aspects na esi criminal na ye promote no na aboy nyina enti no before us make home we share nyina happy Independence Day. I don't think say we should take it for granted say we have independence aboa ama emu bia timetutu kwan abetena ha abe na ma bebre enti happy Independence Day to ye nyina na ye celebrate ye values ye share together no na Ghana ankasa ye o my Ghana me sure say emu bebre ye nim say Ghana o my ankasa di ankasa shada kampa no your friend Wagadu say hey ye di shada kamupa no o call original language no ma baby a ya adapt di ni free na the old Ghana Empire ti Ghana baby a wo say no enye ho na old Ghana Empire no o old Ghana Empire na areas be say ne no Mali, Mauritania, Senegal, Guinea-Bissau, Guinea, all the way to your friend Niger, towards and now. Now, old Ghana Empire, no, actually is one of 3 empires about West Africa. Ghana, the first and the longest. Now, Nasa Empire was very rich. Near Wanyama Bibri. Now, and now this year, I just wanted to mention that because you Bibri, young Kaimpo Kranas, you nimsa Ghana, you didn't shada Kampano. Now translated dinos or say warrior king. Ghana pa na si no. Warrior king. Or here I was saying a kontokwa. Into your rich history in dominating West Africa. Now heard any of Ghana na you need enough for the trading more. Kone a lot of gold. Ghana gold and you know. Sati bring me na some making 11 something to 12 something around that time. Nana that old Ghana Empire no. Into your independence, no, ɛna Dr. Kwame Nkrumah no ne mpanimfoɔ mu hyia no kɔtwe sɛ di ne san de bae nti Ghana ho no anaasɛ saa old Ghana empire nkɔfoɔ ane from the Soninke people no language ɔmo kan sɛ Soninke language no ɔmo kan no hɔ na me mention saa nneɛma nyinaa because there is a small group of saa Soninkefoɔ no bi a ɔmo da so wɔ Ghana sisi mɛba hɔ na yɛnya independence first in sub-Saharan Africa no doubt because Ghana Empire also was the first in the western part of Africa. No, it wasn't surprising. Say independence first. And the question is, independence that you know, and but that's for another day. Independence that we and I enjoy say independence. No be seen there. Now have the first become the last. That's also for another day. Dream. Baby, one of the questions we need to keep thinking about is that's what the animal. And I say about be and no, that's not the topic for today. No Ghana was so many rich culture. To say you can't know, they're mean. So called African American, omo culture mo no mo PBBA for Africa. Or I checking it kinte. Anything represent Africa be as a safari. Na kente Ghana kente no the rich one the shall me be it me designer ma utimi ye nema bebre rich kente Ghana any crying chieftaincy eno de bi o wi ase bebre but me say mo no anaso yi ne kwa chire I will draw your attention to ye chieftaincy no anyhow rich it is ye be kwa chire na jollof nso de say ye nyina ye de ntia Ghana jollof de wi ase afa na nyina agi babia ama yeni enuanom Nigeria for toda na yeko esone form kakra on the jollof where the Ghana jollof is known worldwide. Me ankasa minim jollof ye pa amen. Mo pa mu misa my wife. Na yeko kro no mu ankasa nso a Ghana kro no ankasa me ka ya dwen keke. There are over 70 ethnic groups in Ghana. But akese pa no akan aye asantefo ne infantefo ne bonofo enom ne akuapemfo ne bi ene ade aka no nko aye 45.7%. It's almost half of the country account for. Ne call Molly Dagbon almost north for almost 18.5%. Ewe for ho Dangbe for Accra area ho no ho Gema for ho Guan for ho Grusi for ho and Ankophobia from Monday. My Monday Kessia pa nyom na doso. But that Monday group no, old Ghana Empire no. Sa Sunanki for no, na Monday for no bizu was that old Ghana Empire no. Now you say the aqua in this present Ghana is just 2%. And also mebaso. I'm not trying to just put facts. Mebaso. In terms of culture no, the promotion and the preservation. Say I'm swad no year. A bedu point bi no. The one fefe say na kese e bi New York, e bi DC, e bi California, Riverside, e bi ho no say ya hwe ni year. Some years down the line, no you be checking out can nipa kakra bi. As if we are to churches bebre na saying Riverside, Ghana, New York, California, makoto asori be free, a different church. O maton fofofo. Only stay asori no your friend is saying 2 million. If we are some 1 million a month because we'll be an asori no. They have no use for the building until they have to just give it out. The question is, ABC, I want to say, this minority from the old Ghana Empire, na Gidino, see, I heard the modern Ghana na 2% per, and almost represented that old Ghana Empire, 2%. So the question to us is, how many will represent Naxa? Any year Ghana culture no, you crumbs say no. How many will represent it 100 years from now, 200 years from now, and on? Yeah, kasa kano. I have 11 official languages. Me go through no. And you know, question. SAB say I want to say, what will be left in 200 years? Maybe 200 years per hour, 50 years. And maybe change me say I did be so. Mark of us our topic here, even 50 years. What will we look like? What will be the population? What language will we speak? We shouldn't take it for granted. Say it me share country. edidin komo e kan ekrom kasa. We shouldn't take it for granted. Remember so. Na meshe yinkran bebre Naxda. Omo started Naxda. Omo ya ade ye pa. Osha North America ha. Community a obetuma ka say e strong pa Ghana community. A omo share e programs e connect e ye ba omo nyina Naxda e one of them. Amen. Naxda is one of them, and on a day like this, let's say you can. Na yedi shem kran say, "Dear ya ne ye, nyame mo aye ne ntoaso." You feel ombe parody wa hey. If we start here nyane, start Ghana, and also it ma ba happy. When you na can your culture, you different Ghana. I know say and start Adventism. I know, but that unique Ghana, the end Ghana no be na ba. No difference. 18 Naxda, I had a baby training the next generation. You feel bought a yesterday I make a car, me nkora brim. Me mranti brim no. He said, "Dear me call." He said, "I'm a call." He said, "Dear Akani." But me mranti brim no sa ni abobo a yibia. Very good. 18 to us sa. Name no. I feel I make call myself no pa. Myself no dey here pa me pesi a twa so on this Independence Day no. I dey my friend the overlapping generations and culture. Overlapping generations, they say, your generations, at least 2, are years together. Now, for lack of a proper words, no, and as I mean to mean chamber no, my main friend generation me nupe. Say your generation are old, and our generation are young. This is not age determined. We are just to help me understand and to explain concepts. You fancy your generation 2. Or more young penny 4 and more young. Now, the reason why I mentioned this is that obia on the values. To add 2 different sets of values are ababishia, especially here in America. And Mami mentioned the old generation are very traditional. The old generation can include all of us and up. If you Dr. Eboa, so ever. One penny pa, maybe I will frame me. You need incomo be answer na maybe. Free Dr. Eboa, so benina besi, fan say 40s or no echo. I'm being loose. We can call them the old generation. Only a very traditional because dodo na ya warm Ghana. Yemudu dona ya we Ghana. Yatiti Ghana. We are used to wash around of pansuo ni ho konsuo. Oba, o papa se faha. Now, free school back, we are used to that kind of upbringing, a very traditional. The Papa kind of me, the Mamma can't share them the Yajuma. A foot to Amin and I be catch them in the Yajuma, traditional. Now, sa old generation, idea, Kesepa for Hanwaba Beno is to establish systems and have the control. The old generation have control, and it's part of how things are run. Things are mostly run by the older generation who have control. Now, one important thing about the old generation and managing Hopano, they are very organized. The old generation are very tight-knit. As I'm canning you, I can't. A year about a DFW, so you know, Saturday and the old people's culture. And again, I'm not talking about age. I'm talking about that generation, you know, are very connected. Almost meeting. Almost spend the time together doing meetings, planning for the whole Naxda. And what we have here. Now, young for so kakra. Young are more westernized. And the young no say you me papa na kan say ntina me dey adwuma and you no per se. And na adwuma. Young no bi wa bo apese na dey si nani mo ahwa onni. Our den sabe wo say they are not very traditional. Ebi an favorite food pizza. And answer the food bi. Wo atwito no a wo di no a wani age no. No so ekura na pizza wo bobom. Pizza so don't pay bi anim so ne ebobom. Now the young generation get control. When you know I mean set the premise. And some about the young generation gets control eventually. Until you ever find say young people no any control say. But that affects how they also operate because they don't have control. chime baso. Now, the young are very digitally, and as I say, a program you have digital and analog. Young are very digital. Into be on my on a damn for you about 10 years that. And so, what I didn't come off a few years, so now I see a Texas. Unshia and so that make an old generation will find a way to meet. So can't meet you. So they will find a way to connect. And I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just explaining the setup. So that be a bit say how are you now operating as now. And I happy. Ghana so say Ghana alcohol. Westernization among the young people the same. Among for they almost form the way I'm come you know it is here. There's really so the church about Independence Day, you know, and just America. There's a shift in the values of the old generation and the values of younger generation. Ghana, you know, pizza, and they say they celebrate birthday. You say who the birthday Ghana now top pizza is a oko nimpa is a ono. When you approach for no, just a mobile paper oko nim. Entino. Ghana so say afa so Ghana one thing about nonsense ye adwenkyere time is so no se pani kan asema yen ka bi say Ghana no Ghana for kyerɛ adwen abrantie e friend Abraham Ben Moshe o kyerɛ adwen pa efa ensem bebre onye ono pɛ nipa no dɔso twene Jonas nom ne kɔfɔ no dɔso bebre a je sɛ o mo kyerɛ adwen timi kasa ti asante hene ebi mutimi kyerɛ your friend is saying, "We didn't penny for time near the Sabi. I drink training near ma. Na entisa. The old people, the old generation don't have those values. But the young generation, even here, who banana tifia or chena drink, no matter how young, won't drink a sacro chena drink. In obe show set or chena drink. And that is the new culture now. One for the young people. So now the question is, how do we coexist and promote culture in this situation? And you know, I go through a few points here about how each person operates. Meaning, say young people, old people, I thought that we make so many assumptions. And then maybe be how different groups in operate. And then from there, I'm just going to go into how we can promote what we have. If we understand each other, we will know how to promote what we have. And yes, sir, there will always be this conflict. I say, we are not able to push the Ukraine valuable. Now I say, we are not working together because in the old generation, some of the things that old generation are in their mind culturally, and they say they are here to work and retire to Ghana. Asa, very simple. Come and a diaba. Yamiadum, yabenya bikakra, yakosi dan bikakra Kumasi, hefa, Croatia. Mi wobo dini bikake, hefa, buakwa. Enomne asankregwa nomne ho keka ho akosi sibi ho Seko City ni asankregwa entino because of this mindset no the old generation operate in a way so omontena ha enti no mankasa culture nankasa ne ahanom niema no nye niema a type old generation who bebre, and that can create a problem because we are not here to stay, and when you are not here to stay, you are not really building systems to transfer anything to the next generation, especially here. Yes, next one, or say the old generation raise kids with Ghana tools. And they say they show in Ghana, hey, Fadiana to Sana, yetiti, you raise and cry because said they edit tea and one. And I use the raise. And I'm not talking about something being right or wrong. I'm talking about what it is and how that affects cultural assimilation, how at the end of it transfer over. No? They tend to be rigid about change. Hello? Yes, some people can crave some of because there is the fear say yes, son be lose your identity, your culture, and cry into the older generation, is not used to change. And everything I'm talking about, you can flip it. The young generation is used to change. They want change. They want some modification. They want things to be done slightly differently. After they being separated from their children after retirement, the older generation will be separated most from their children. Because Ghana, and now man also go school that separation will happen. How will culture be translated in this case? And after last one, the older generation do not have a clearer plan for inheritance transfer. Say na Dani akwesi asenkregwa Hwan ede be ma no. Na nipa na ede be ma no ba betena mu asenkregwa ho ana. These are questions that the young people are asking. But that's how the old operate. So in this context, we want to understand these things first. Now for young no. Youth ni bi wa ha. Ana me kan nyina chi no asako. Cheche ma youth no. The youth are very open-minded. Except me person penifone ase pa. Youth ni are very open-minded. Omo they are not controlled by culture. No pizza obedi. Or this sebi India for go to be shawarma. Very open-minded. Open to try new things. So how do we transfer culture and promote culture in this context? The young people, the young people, and I'm very privileged because I'm somewhere in between. As a man who, as a crap and ibisa, as a bisa, I can understand both. Young people no struggle with idea of cognitive dissonance. Can cognitive dissonance idea be our dream, and it wouldn't even know emfa. Yamano nema question school and ya grow. Question biology. Question origins according to biology. Question a challenge the brain. Critical thinking. Ain't no so bad so I say ya can't semna to us no on fan sa and fa e dream. And I want to make that clear because it is a unique characteristic of the young people. At the end of the day, because or the critical thinking is too one. Your friend cognitive dissonance. You throw a but one case what you say they have a baby. They are so for candy or so for the but we the family. That's how the young operate. Also, not into cultural maintenance. Young people live very free. Whereas, we be our penny, I work when they may be crowd, wine, me be crowd, wait me crowd, catchy, be cramame. The young generation are not concerned. Send a baby catchy over Cabrofo and fan hombiasa. There's no interest in cultural preservation. May come now clear because we live in this context. We need to understand it clearly and say that I transfer anything. At the end of transfer, the young people right now, currently, they don't care that much. But they don't care that much. They are happy to work, make income, go buy a house, live, travel the world, and it's not a thing. It's not putting any blame. It's just what it is. Marry a lot later. The young generation will compare older generation and marry late. And a feature of marry late, and say, so you are working, you have a career at that same time, you are raising kids, and they have a lot of loans. May clarify and have because I told that generation is him. The young people have a lot of loan, and when people have a lot of loan, it puts a lot of pressure on them. They told that. You can't say me out here. I was in the hot shrino. Inti on father walk. Sometimes they even blame. Say, a hot shrino is because my parents come to me and to me for you and come on student loan, for instance. I then I'm to me for now 16, 17 years old. How would I have known? More to me for you, Muntina. My boss, so there is a lot of blame from the young generation because. And now I'm my young generation. And a church doesn't carry the same weight. For the young generation, in general, said the penifono, Yananum near Papanum to Mr. Machi Bompaye. The young generation don't pray that much. Honestly, unless I say, there's no other option, they don't pray that much. And so we are not on the same page. We are not on the same page, and that is a fact. So now let's go into how we can preserve what we have. How can we translate the important parts of your culture? And say Thessalonians kind, you know. Yeah, embrace it, they're good, you know. How do we translate that? To translate that, one important thing, the old generation on this side, the young generation on this side, no, on this other side, no. One thing we need to know is that we either preserve or the whole thing fades away. That's just a fact. So let me Monday for no. That remnant 2%, and it represented the old Ghana Empire. If the thing is not maintained, it will be gone. And how do we do this? The old and the young, we have to come together. And the old generation, and the young generation, the first thing the old generation can do is dialogue. And I'm mentioning dialogue. I'm not mentioning a futu. Because normally the old generation talk to the young generation. Also, the old generation have all the experience. They have all the knowledge. Until they talk to in a condescending way. It's not normally dialogue. And yes, so how you actually understand this thing. Now let's find a common ground. It's mostly I'm going to say cry. We won't feed it. Sabra na me kotek na mo dim futru magro na then munima. That's normally how we treat the young. So dialogue. Yeni enkran tiny komo. Yeni young and tiny komo. Dialogue. Let's find solutions. Let's discuss things. Let's not talk down to them. I feel let's share the big stage. Let's share the big stage. Yeah. Sorry, your software, Pastor Kuma, one thing. Boss of our the pastor allows the young people to express themselves. Pastor. Very, very important. Is to incorporate the youth. Yema youth no feel say, omo dia da nyese nchen ho baabi. As omo no go akire ho baabi na edu de hia pa no de a na se mpanifo be hia na yema youth no kwotena akire obi no. De hia na ye de nyina ye together no. The here no nye the obiya separately no, because no, that doesn't translate any culture. It doesn't give anybody anything that they can hold on to and feel proud about. It's by incorporating the youth. And I say, I see a dog Ghana. When I think I cry because I know Ghana no. Ghana 7 thought that person who defending one in you. Just a person can be told more person can how they gonna be tumze koye. Enkoye. But still, you can't go and koye ni na youth no tie. Ye shagana da pa ni when the minister koye ni na mu tie. They are not developing any love for the country, and there is no way you can preserve any culture and not send anything down when people don't love what the thing is. If all that people know is Ghana. The way I can't Ghana. It's true. No, me I made the home for because no craning. Ghana and no who defend and foul. Oh yeah, and fat. But still no, and they say pay way beer. Yema yenkro for no your youth no adore or mine I friends Ghana. And be willing to go and help. And there are many ways, sir. You bet my mom dog Ghana. The youth don't necessarily have to go and eat kenke and go to sleep in Kwakotna Sekuana. They don't necessarily have to do that. But we can encourage them to love mission. We can encourage them to donate. We can encourage them to connect to Ghana. We need to know that. In fact, anyone can say na youth who's bit my. I'm ready to. Youth no. I say youth ni have a break. We no there. Mamenka. Youth no, we should never underestimate the empenifo na yamaye no. You see, I find a lightly cry. I thought that we do. Because the only man is America and our parents when you need, I didn't know the old ball brand, yes, sir. And at the open Audi, the open away, the youth is in this mindset of the pena me, and on a boy culture, no. The pena me, no. So behind us, the culture will cease to exist. The only reason we can meet here and talk about independence is because some people are deciding not to do things how they want. Some people are deciding to come here, for instance. Some people are deciding to tap into NAXDA. Some people are deciding to choose Ghana attributes. They do time also make choices here. Or choose Ghana to keep the Ghana going. And the youth from me too, let's choose Ghana. You choose baby a free year. Let's not take it lightly. Let's think of this as cultural preservation. The old generation said medical canon. They are not going to change. They are going to retire and go to Ghana. That's already known. Maybe majority. Nipa Abraham no makasa na say me friend. Me uncle because oh enche oze same. I just 3 years na me ko. Eh obi say me no. Mo kwaja yen e be na so ade mu e de akọ. Me nipa we breading komodo do no because for many reasons I have not retire. Cost of living no anodin but all this kind of sanko Ghana this year. Ubetime diama hoto ube free. And young people, we need to understand this dynamic. The majority of the youth of the old generation, they are going to retire and go to Ghana. How will the culture be preserved? It will only be preserved by choosing Ghana. Choosing to love Ghana and the things of Ghana. That will be the only way. And just that they will be gone. And yes, we'll be choosing anyhow. Somebody can't share no. Our choices matter for preservation of your culture now. It cries no. I feel we need a youth to step up. Because I thought that the older generation, I'm really appreciative of the older generation. I know. My idea in this Independence Day, Nemuda said the older generation have done very, very, very well. It's almost as if they were sinking into the ocean. Now, Obi Kray, you do have a jina shock. That alone is huge because you were dying. The older generation has given us the opportunity. They were not perfect, but they did a lot. In the end, we need to understand. Say we have to engage. You see how much they will let you do. And see a trench and youth no opportunity. No. Engage and see. Dr. Ebua. Now me catch them wife so me ba adis wa. Me bona baso. Baby anana obi a nyame nhira no pa. Nim so otie me. E zoom no so. Dr. Ebua, the way or tapping into the youth and the way he gets involved, very remarkable. Now saying, at a toda or family group will be a total mamiko kasa also. Or frame, oh, Sammy, Obetmania bedin komo. Uba Becky Cambe Kanema financial advice, and you are just preaching. He's helping, he sees this, he gets this concept. So the only way to move the generation forward, to move things forward, is to empower the youth. And is to get them engaged. Because the youth have so much talent. If you engage people, you'll be surprised how much they can contribute. Into youth, their main challenge here is say, let's engage. Zoom, so let's engage. Because you're engaged here, we will not preserve anything. We will be known as the people that destroyed everything that existed. Because we chose anyhow. We didn't engage and we didn't take the baton. I feel that youth have to work together. We are too loosely connected. Youth, we are school shaha, we are kwakwe, we shaha nom, obia shababy. But there's not a lot of communication. And if we don't communicate, we will keep separating. We'll keep getting loose and loose when we don't communicate. And by dinkomo, I'm not talking about say what text will be or phone. So, but we don't engage to do anything. And me demand And maybe Americans say it matters. It really matters because the narrative has to change. Possible say bit more build the communities. Yahubio, say Americano. Test all things. Yeah, by maybe I'm take for instance, it's a very predominantly Indian community. So Udru Honor no because was a Hoya America, one you might think say a Hoya India and all. Because all my neighbors, what they do, they say, Sabi say India ni konya de papa. So they try to get all the friends involved. Say India for be I come up with maybe develop real estate. We build the communities. More ton sika omanyano. Enyagro Obama community hona ni hona there was some dentist offices. There were different offices. Ni na India for na own omo community wa. They live in the community and they own together. Because one person you can't. They own resources. They are connected. They marry themselves. They keep Nyama in. We can also do it. It is imperative. Yanya emfa. And after your biblical history, the biblical history, no. Mechem ye kakra. Me de wade ne bewe ye munya abotrema me. Na dem ba be kan ebe mwanwa. Munim se ye nua pani Metusala. Onya Ghana ni de. Bo ye nua pani ye nyina. Se ye na pani so ye na council Metusala. Our Bible mu no. Munim se owra no the any fan hono nyina so or the oldest person that will live here that we know that, right? And we know that obviously he was one of the biggest patriarchs. Enoch echi. And now Methuselah. Enoch of course no. So there was a lot of righteousness, religious information that was passed down. Now Papa will be quite heavy and then a lot of rich biblical knowledge and edited Methuselah. And Methuselah any Lamech no 187. Maybe as I make a history, but maybe can so, and it's going to make a lot of sense. Lamech reign 187, Olivi 782 years, and sana okay, the where Lamech is drew 182, and Noah. And Noah we and only or start to us in year 595. Men kunta no mama don't worry. The maybe can see soon here pa. Don't worry because kunta a toda na we are no adwin album because numbers no move sa no. And here time one Lamech ye na. That means 5 years before the flood because Noah. You will Noah 182 years time Lamech 182. And now also Noah the 500. And son all started on ma. Into no say time one flood nearby now already Genesis chapter 7 verse 6. Or say flood nearby now no 600. That means that Noah started with 500 and the flood came 100 years after. Into no time one you know one. And as that time Noah started so na ne papa Lamech no na account 95 years because I had say 595 and son he said Noah started with 500. That means na account na ne papa no Lamech no 95 years to live. And a flood neba 100 years after Noah started so unti ne papa Lamech no 5 years before the flood. But what about Methuselah? Methuselah ni chepa because time Lamech na Methuselah da so tiase. Methuselah lived 5 more years. 5 more years, which means Methuselah died in the year of the flood. I'm saying, Sadio, you share that and consider Bibri. I feel no anga sana. In Sweden, ne buy no. Sa year no na Methuselah very prophetic. So that means that Methuselah was saved because he was a patriarch. Or a patriarch. It didn't mean Methuselah in the before the flood. Basically, that's Adventist understanding. Say Methuselah was saved from the flood. Now, question be saying, say Methuselah. Already even from Enoch, so Methuselah or Emma, Emma. So there was an extended family. Lamech and so Emma and Emma and Emma Bibri, you know what to chair. No, what the Bible and can be so big. Nemana yenimna ne the Bible kind. But there was a big extended family. But at the time of the flood, where were they? Where was all? I was a question I answered on you that. Omoma kani in no way. Metusala and now oko ware one quarter and a north. We are quarter oko be omunyina bi mu kwachichi kro because this is a lot of years. Almost 1,000 years. Into many generations. But a flood no. They were nowhere to be found. Now, 8 pe. In the for the American about cultural preservation, is that it doesn't matter patriarchs no mudi anymore. It doesn't matter how good they were. Or one more established in next day, no. As a community now, a team, you know. It doesn't matter how well they established it, because clearly, Enoch, Methuselah, Lamech, Noah, all these were righteous people, but they couldn't convince anybody of their time to be saved in terms of the extended family. That means that culture no yanswad no year. It doesn't matter how good Dr. Ebua has been doing things. It doesn't matter how much he's trying. It doesn't matter how much pastor is trying. And as a church members, you and I try. If we don't hold fast at the end of the year, there will be nothing to show for. In a few years, we have nothing to show to anybody. In fact, we will not be there to show anything to begin with. So this is extremely important. If Noah, Lamech, Methuselah, all these people are not mere righteous, including people that went to heaven, couldn't pull along the next generations now, what makes you think that it's that easy? It's not easy to pull the next generation along. It requires determined effort. Baton exchange. Today, it's really about baton exchange. Obi kradie, wakobia bre, and ode bre obi fufro. Now, there's a big lesson. I'm to say America, almost sprinters. No, there's a big lesson I learned from them. American sprinters are some of the best. Even during the time when your friends are Hussein Bolt, and normally Jamaica for no really crown. Americans could have beaten Jamaica many times. Their only problem, as many of us know, is the baton exchange. So I follow US sprinting. Abrebia na medwe ho amentia say omon practice anase sen. Because Abrebia they fumble the baton. It drew time one. The urban speed pound no. For some reason, the urban speed the origin en fa. Ebi on man answer kwa bako obepim nipa no oje ane kura bufu aso tehwe. Anfa. But right now the whole thing is about the baton exchange. E better na farmer as a community. As in Yamibam, of course. But never discuss through dialogue, through you for no appreciating say baby adun yan so ade no mu a emfa. There will be no Independence Day to celebrate here in a few years' time. Yan so ade mu a emfa. So the baton exchange has to be proper. We are on the same page when the baton is being exchanged. If you don't communicate very well, it doesn't matter how fast you run. The baton exchange will fumble. And there will be nothing to pass on. So many kingdoms pass and gone. Bibraba Bebiko, Old Ghana Empire, empires Bibraba became Mali Empire, Songhai Empire, Greece, Medo-Persia, many of these places require about time to the show screen is only go. As if nobody lived there. So things are not automatically transferred. Now, idea assuming na berry and my can be a for Asante my home. So me can start no. Ghana have all manner of issues, but one thing Ghana is very, very good at is ahini chieftaincy. Especially your monarchs, For some reason, we have been able to work that out. And I believe that there's a lot of lessons to be learned. You can't Asante Mine, for instance, I'm not here to talk about the whole history. But where Asante Mine started from Kwamai, na Kwamai hene. Time Asante started from no. It's my 1570. I said American Kwamai hene. In the Kwamai kingdom, later better than Kumasi him 1670. Nanachum, only first king and was as a Isa Kwamai. Omu reni kakra besi 1640. 1640 nenya Obri Abua, na no Ibri Abua. I also be running 40 years to 1680. From there, and I started say organizing on the Sabra na obri ebo na the Kumasi mine. Ti any free kwa my mind aba Kumasi mine. So Kumasi mine for all those years. And sana Nana Osetu the first. Onona is known to establish the Ashanti kingdom Nankasa. Enti ahin for no mti ani from Nana. We in a history imbu ayen ebiani and shed anti na me kaka yadwin. Time Otunfo Bansana it didn't be changed from Nana to Otunfo. It started from 1701 officially. 1701 enya Otunfo was said to do the first. I know you did na the manager Asante Mine any preservation of your culture and they said there's always succession. So even if na minim nyansa nyamede ma sampeni for no Abrebiano, they had Mamponhini, who is the regent. Sasembia, Mamponhini Timaka say Yantrain. Ubia Trabi or Timia, maybe organize Bibia, Mamponhini echo around, or call a him from Sasembi Kranaba. Okodia Semnoni nobles didn't come and Sana Yabetua by the next Asante Otunfo. So they always had, and it has always been the case. Asante Kingdom started here near the Mamponhini. To be the regent, Asembia ba, Osiesi, so he be woo before the next king, Banama Pohini, Ababe Sesi, to keep the thing running. All the way, even through time, France and Britain for no buyer, Ombe colonizing any in Anna Santimanda so Koso. All the way down through 1895. Omode a friend Anna Prempe, Echo Seychelles, Echo exile. And no man for his son stepping in again. So the kingdom was as an answer or hobby any ho. But because man for hinti, we're able to last all the way to 1931. Yes, Nana Trempe Ajimai, the second. I also buy ya better than Muama 1999. Was not say to another tune for, it's not an I was tune for, or say to the second. And so buy also be dimma besine. Ukani in Aboma from 1570, basically now 450 something, 454 years ni Santemai Edaso Eguso Koso. And there's a plan. And when I was reading this history, it reminded me, say, Nyaminti, we can do it. But it requires a careful, it requires a plan. We can't leave it loose. Say, oh, we're fat. Oh, and if we don't plan and have plans in place and have a transition plan, in conclusion, your culture and the we need to preserve it. A bit my and on Emrepa because where Asante mine, a yamkan, I know dear. Gold oil refinery, why name technique, maybe I'm not on your home channel. By a court channel, dear. History and media trace saying Yamintino, yet me preserve it. It will be be free and no more. Now, from Raha, Yana joint effort. Penny don't bay and cry, dear bay. Now, it's much so I didn't know ye. Now, a boy in that chimney. Ye can't history no. Yankas, oh, 200 years ago, near maybe Dallas, a building be now, Avenue, Grand Prairie. We want it to be so. Now, a Grand Prairie, and I say, cry, I can see a crime. I say, no, Yakwako pass, sorry, because that has to be the history. In the future to come, no. Yadebe church. Yamin share with my now, why now be to me on the part. Na enyin shiramayen ewo Yesu dimunti. Amen.
Yeda yenua no ase nsemo a wode amayen say am ya dem adwumadi ye fi ase no se hwe ne we akroyi a ye nyina mu nyina me ya adwene se anye ampaye a ebedwa enti mo ye nyina ye mmodin se kina de kien ye beba menim se bia ne oka ye obi wo abosan be 5 minutes we I say maybe so bisa na bia yɛ nyinaa anaasɛ ɔno akyire mu a bɛtumi de aba asɛm sɛ bi hɔ anaasɛ contribution bi wɔ hɔ a biribi ɛde a na kyerɛ sɛ maame yɛboa
Yadanyamiase for such deep information. But kakra me de can say the last part no can say asante for said ye see a near man a no correct. A media meaning kakra beto ye na ya chini pasha them and no mu grew the next nippon mo expect to say Obaba bedi hene. Inti that's how said your walk can no de be fry no so preserve bibia you have to work at it na and then a minimum dear because who come and share drew baby and you even the way an ipani should look second any 3 year flat to book or who you are supposed to marry I'll bet my bay pneumonia for our Santi Kingdom. She said your walk cano the Tommy Comason say ye perceive a preserve bibia we have to work at it and I agree pa say na disconnection it drew baby at me person me ko baby Ghana for wo ye Ghana ni ye dan ya wo ye Ghana ni nti mo ma ye nyi sa suban mfiri ye mu ye benya differences but let's work at it and by the grace of God let's work together and I feel say nyame nso so edi asantefo mu ne Ghana fo ye mu there's some type of spirit and my go for the better of each other and for the country.
Pacho, me your question.
obi so question koso
Pacho, my question to Doctor me say, or can I say for no Mandy so say why for no. Or mark at 2%. Person me who say currently no where are they? Or more here fa. Nah, it is so true because we share US America my kakrakai and that belonging to Red Indians. What kind of history no and the Red Indians no more very little a crampo almost living here so poor and horrible. The woman share concentrate you kind of saying so concentration was saying areas the whole you confine almost and they are so poor and almost living here so bad. Wish America crook a cracky na almost not in Kaya almost dear. And tea, the person me who say near dog can I no crack. Yeah, and you're careful. I bedroom baby near us. And now the question on say 2% no more here or Ghana or more yet. Tribal being what language do they speak? Where are they located?
Hello. I know Cranny. My research and all me as I'm a historian. In my research, me say they are officially recognized as an ethnic group of Ghana. No Cranny Yamianimni. Me as I mean share be that me nim baby port in Ghana or more. But officially, no, they are recognized or more Ghana. Me my dream no, say me the my dream bua a better northern part because geography na me describe here na original language no speakers na Senegal down through Mali. I'm saying, Mammy, a boy bisa Mandinga phobia or Senegal. A bit my omubiana. Tall and strong. Semi the margin air fahua. Mekas on the northern part area of Ghana because of how the rest no air distributed no. Mauritania, any Senegal, any that part no. Many shows on mobile all the way down south.
All right. Kakra bit media boa no no. So also for pija wen boa. Okay.
Yeah, they na make kakra de aka the doctor kan or generation me no a to da na yem hihie se na yakura chi no enkura ba beso asafo no eno ya de a very important say wokọ churches ne bia ma ha ase involve ma entwen enwu ansa na wadwene ho se me ba na ba besum nyame se wo ma no sum sisi ala hwe no nti bra mpanimfo ya hie mu hae no bia afi so na se nyame adom e church board yo nkra bebre youth no bebre ho omoti church board mo hani ekoso kwan a ye fa so de transition a omo so sua kwan a board meetings ne kwan ye fa so ye niam very very important ti say etoda ne se afi so a na ye yi mpanimfo a na ya bomodin ne de youth no bia ye de be ahihim na umaye no enne ama yehu na maye nkase omuntimi etoda ye pay speaker kra afi say na me kan say maye limited the speakers from outside na yenyusu yenkura ya because obi aye kone na mama na no ate na okofa namba why don't one so training near owo mu no said the bear on so obi beba fa na ko baabi na wakọ akokasa because church am free by Thanos managers na ewo ho Thanos church is about 500 people mpanimfo akese university ho professors and fa go omutimi ko hyiam na omayi young people so omayi asore pani na asafo na ya bepim sa abre ma ukwa the way asale ne strong no nyasem ketwa boy ba kwa na nsem bisa na se ye na be kan asore for mpanimfo no nti wontimi entena ho na wangasa onye pani ne saa na won spect se akra no in a blue moon no ni ho oba beye no feli na ya encourage wo mu na ya yi ya anya ne saa transition bie ne ho ya beba se de na maame ye boy kan sei ye ka sei asante the next asante no mu training no nyese bi o mo ja se akonya no towi ansa no mo ko hwe obi o ba o mo ebi o mo doso de ebi abia nipa be 5 balo mu nyina nam training pa se de be ya akonya ne tope success ano o mbe nya nipa be 5 a o mu nyina ya training o mo no ma chusu ba ko afiri ma o mbe ma no bibi kitua bi no mbe ya aka no nti se ye ka se ye tena ho saa nyangopa adoma boa ye nkule ye ne o ma ene wa ha nti na to da eye business meeting a se munko fro o mu nyina amra ye ni o mu nyina atena ha na o mu nso kire o ma adwene na o mu nso ye yi o kire na adwene na anko yi ne se wo bia wo experience mo ni nti wo beka se ene de na o kekan mamo ma ne nka se na wa kill in spirit eno nti awrade enhyira ye nwomre yi na doc awrade enhyira wo pa information is so deep na mesre onyankopon se oma ye nyina abotra ye ne emofra yi de betina amen
kakra bia me de beka ho se yen a titru no minim se Ghana for ne yen hawo a se ye ma enyini a eya na yentimi associate wo mo yanketwa no abaso mo nyina yentimi hu difference no enam se ne mo na atena ntino obeko school at university level but that's who am se ya kwala eni treba asafo no mu a won sesi ya wo mo ate on ho a wo mo ho no me no ye that's from kwala na sorry but na ma ware ba oba ha ihu so ya kwala most of them they be your masters e bi awie enam se ye hunu wo monkola abrem wo haninti no ya na ye this and say ja so show mon say begu but obenyina be wada ko hwe ni fie oh se wo sua so te sen And it's a young to me, as young graduate and level no asia. Debiano, yet me come home, and who is the modrono. Ye do me be beer, a be ye. Yenina near swap, make my can pay, me worry ye, mammy be no ye feel me, but will be. Or why no, only a man's warrior. Anyone wants me in a warrior. So, but Nimagini, my university, Nimagini, because I'm warranted. As my man who does me say, a man's and I'm here. Son, ye who you call ye. Wobana university a year, but you still see him or her as a child. A cultural problem. I see it me grudge different. Now, my team, the panica, ye know, yet me do my baby, and my team. Madam, I say, Minia.
Doc, yeah, that was a brain, some of Kana. But me, my dream be in so kakra. When you say any big deal match, but who here power? Me bisa asembako. African Americans are more. Saka omoba hano. Omukipu omudia. Just a name. Din who here power. Ka omukipu omudia. Akane omubebri na betimi akọ Africa. Ahu babi omufi. Niema nintia meka sa asemi se. Satba na me military mu no. Asura ye kono ye ni military mpanimfo ni SDA ye hospital kese ye wo ho. Na omo doctors ni nurses ni was asura. Ye wo kobi no. Army officer bi African American no wo ya sorry. E bi share no obai. O hwe Africa fo na ekọ na hye African tade. O gina wo na usu. No ka kire me say akwara no. Ye make sure say din e betu ni nyina no e African din. Na nti a o kasa ne say ye no ye bedu ha e ya na din no ye ne ye wo no yentammo. Na ono no ye ne ya paase onni Africa din. Na saasem no ya yenwi hu ye. Ni ntia beka sane se ye mana omo ewo ha no. Ye de ye nyinya Abraham ne sanoma ne ma. Minka se din wo Bible mu no hu hia. But wo fie din ni din a wo ho no. O ma no ne wo nananom na omo be wo no. Make sure say Africa din no ye ntontwene. Na din no hu hia pa. Kakra meka no.
Baby, any what dear, and yet, you know, a baby, yeah. Adaphonum, your activities be titru a china. If you are sorry, I sent him. 81 man temua, so by usual time no. Omrania finia masse. And ye, Benina, ye never page a yemu. Na ya shira a summonoso a dinina aba a ye. Your best sorry na Joyce Kuma.
Yidi for me mumpire. Eda wasi 2 mini adi nyina ewura. Ye you are can for show ni munyam. Na watch me nyina wo hwe so pa no bambo aboye. Ene so edede iso me free hu me dase asedanka odinda. Eda wasi eble ewo mu ye culture ye den kura na ye kura e free mu a enti wonam na wadom so de bedu ha. And who you may dear yeti, and you may shall see, excuse your name a bebre. The source of kind home. No boy, my own concurrent kind home, said by you fee and cheap. And copon yard do much, and I was sad of home danis my chair. As if I said, did you may show when munyam? Kaya when you marry, and the moon in hour or dobani diminity. Amen.
Amen. Next week program ben oh. And then see my way.